The storm at midnight, the wind howled like a wild animal outside. Thick clouds covered the moon. Rain hit the wooden roof of Jacob's cabin hard. He was just about to blow out the candle and go to sleep when someone knocked on the door. Hard. 3 times. Jacob froze. No one came here this late, not in a storm like this. He picked up his old rifle and slowly walked to the door. The knock came again, louder this time. His heart pounded. He opened the door. There stood a tall figure, over 7 feet tall, with rough scales shining under the lightning. The creature had 2 horns curving back from his head and wings folded behind him. He was clearly not human, but also not attacking. His golden eyes met Jacob's for a second before the creature dropped to one knee, breathing heavily. Behind him stood a female of his kind. She was shaking, soaked from the rain, holding her large belly with both hands. She looked like she was about to collapse. The male looked up and spoke, his voice deep and full of pain. Please, protect her, the baby. Then he passed out on Jacob's doorstep. Jacob couldn't move for a few seconds. Was he dreaming? A dragon-like alien just fell unconscious at his door, and she was pregnant. The female looked at Jacob with wide, tired eyes. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. Her body was shaking. She was freezing. She needed help. Come in, Jacob said finally. She hesitated. Her eyes flicked toward the male, then back to Jacob. She bent down, tried to lift him, but she was too weak. Jacob quickly moved to help. Together, they pulled the male inside and laid him near the fire. Jacob threw 2 thick blankets over both of them. The female sat close to the fire, her hands trembling as she held her belly. Her skin was a soft silver blue, and her long hair was wet and tangled. Even though she looked alien, her face showed fear, exhaustion, and something else - pain. Jacob didn't ask questions. He gave her hot tea and dry clothes, well, old robes really, the only thing big enough for her. She changed behind a curtain while Jacob checked on the male. He was still breathing, but shallow. Deep cuts ran across his back. What happened to you? Jacob whispered, more to himself. When the female came out, she had covered her tail and wings. She sat again, holding the tea with both hands. Jacob didn't speak for a while. He watched her carefully, wondering if he had made a mistake. What if this was a trap? But when he looked into her eyes, all he saw was fear. Not of him, but of something out there. Lightning flashed outside. She flinched. Her eyes darted to the window. Someone's chasing you, Jacob said softly. She nodded slowly. Who? She looked down, silent. Jacob sighed. You don't have to tell me now. Just rest, you're safe here for now. He stood up and locked the door. Then he poured some water into a bowl and cleaned the wounds of the male. The alien groaned but didn't wake up. Jacob sat by the fire with a cup of tea and stared at the 2 strangers. His peaceful life had just been broken open, like a cracked egg. Who were they? Why had they come here? And what kind of baby was inside her? As the fire crackled and the storm raged outside, Jacob noticed something strange. The baby inside the female's belly. It glowed faintly under the blanket. A soft golden light, like a heartbeat. Not just a baby. Something more. He didn't understand what it meant. But he felt it. This night was just the beginning of something big and dangerous. Somewhere far beyond the storm. Something was hunting them. And now it would come for him too. But Jacob had made a choice. He couldn't turn them away. Not now. Not when the dragon had trusted him with the most important thing of all. Life. Jacob woke before sunrise. The storm had passed, but the air still felt heavy. Cold mist covered the windows of his small wooden cabin. The fire was low now, glowing like dying embers. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked over. The dragon male still lay unconscious, wrapped in blankets, his breathing slow but steady. Beside him, the female sat awake. She hadn't slept. She sat quietly near the window, staring out. Her long silver-blue hair was now dry, falling around her shoulders. Her eyes didn't blink. They were glowing faintly in the dark room, sharp but full of sadness. Jacob stepped toward her slowly. "Did you sleep at all?" She didn't answer. At first, then softly she said, "No." Her voice was smooth, a little deep, but gentle. She spoke with a strange accent. Her English wasn't perfect, but clear enough to understand. Jacob sat down across from her. "You don't have to be afraid here. I won't hurt you." She turned to him finally. "You don't know what we are, what we bring." Jacob tilted his head. "Then tell me." She looked at the man on the floor. Her eyes softened, then filled with something heavier, guilt maybe. Her hand touched her belly. The soft golden light was still there. It pulsed like a heartbeat. "I am Valera," she said. "He is Karun. We are from Clan Etherin. Royal bloodlines from the stars." Jacob nodded slowly. "Okay. So you're royalty?" She didn't smile. "Not anymore." A long silence filled the room. She looked out the window again. "They said I was to be mated to the highborn general," she continued. "Not by love, by law. But I refused. I did not want him." Her voice tightened, trembling slightly. Jacob could see her holding back pain, not physical, but deep emotional wounds. Karun was a rebel. He spoke of freedom, of love. He said I could choose. "So you chose him?" Jacob asked gently. Valera nodded. "We bonded under the twin moons, against my family's command. And that's why they're after you." She looked at him again. This time her gaze was sharper. "Not just that. I carry his child. Half-blood, royal and rebel, mixed. My clan says it is poison." Jacob's eyebrows lifted. "But it's just a baby." "To you," she said. "But to them, it is a symbol. A threat. If the child is born, others will believe in freedom. In choice, my brother said, it must not live." Jacob stood and paced for a moment. The whole thing sounded insane. Royal aliens, arranged mates, hunted children, and yet he believed her. Every word. He stopped and asked, "So why come here, to Earth?" She took a breath. "Because humans believe in protecting the innocent. That's what Karun told me. He studied your kind. He said, if we fall, a human will do what even our own would not." Jacob swallowed hard. He hadn't signed up for this. But now it was his door. They'd knocked on. Valera closed her eyes for a moment. "He said you still have heart strong enough to care." A long silence stretched again. Then she whispered, "Is it true?" Jacob didn't answer right away. He looked at her glowing belly, then at Karun's resting form. He thought about how he lived all alone in this cabin. No family, no children. Just fields and silence. Then he said softly, "I don't know about others, but I'm not letting anything happen to you here." Valera looked down. A tear rolled down her cheek and fell onto her hand. Outside, a bird called once. The wind shifted. A strange scent blew through the open window, burnt metal. Smoke. Jacob stood quickly. "Stay here." He grabbed his rifle and stepped outside. He scanned the edge of the trees. Something wasn't right. The forest was quiet, too quiet. Then he saw it. A strange mark burned into the grass, not far from his barn. A circle. Blackened edges. Jacob narrowed his eyes. It wasn't there last night. Someone had landed. He walked slowly to it. The grass crunched under his boots. Then he heard something, a low buzzing sound coming from the woods. He turned back toward the cabin quickly. "Not safe anymore," he whispered. Inside, Valera felt it too. She looked at Karun and whispered a soft word in a language Jacob didn't understand. A shimmer passed over Karun's body, some kind of alien shield. Valera stood up, holding her belly. "They are close." Jacob returned inside, locking the door behind him. "Get ready. If they come here, I'm not letting them take you." Valera stared at him for a moment. Then for the first time since she arrived, she smiled just a little. "You may be just human," she said, "but your heart is not small." Outside, something moved in the trees. The hunters had arrived. Jacob didn't sleep that night. Not with the strange mark burned into his field. Not with the sound he heard coming from the forest, low, steady, unnatural. He sat in the dark with his rifle across his lap, listening, waiting. His eyes never left the window. Inside the cabin, Valera moved carefully. She barely made a sound. She laid extra blankets over Karun, who remained unconscious but still breathing. She touched his face once, softly, then turned to the wall and stared at nothing for a long time. Jacob finally broke the silence. "What do they want to do if they find you?" Valera didn't look at him. "They won't speak. They will burn this place down. Then take what remains." Jacob's jaw tightened. "Then we won't let them find you." She finally turned to face him. "You can still walk away, human. You are not part of this war." Jacob looked at her for a moment. "Maybe not, but someone knocked on my door. And that means I'm in it now." Valera blinked, as if surprised by his words. She lowered her head and whispered, "Thank you." Morning came slow and gray. The forest outside was still. No birds sang. No deer walked by the field. Just silence. That kind of silence that made the back of Jacob's neck feel cold. He went outside just after sunrise to check the area again. He didn't go far, just around the edge of the barn and a few steps into the trees. That's where he saw it. A trail of blood, thick, dark red streaks across the leaves. Drops on broken branches. Something heavy had passed through, injured and large. Maybe not human. He crouched and touched the blood. Still warm. He turned and ran back to the cabin. Valera stood in the doorway, holding her belly. "They're here," he said, breathing hard. "I know," she said. "I felt him." "Felt who?" "My brother." Jacob paused. "The one leading the hunters?" She nodded slowly. "He's not just a warrior, he's a mind talker. He can sense our location. If we are not shielded." Jacob glanced toward Karun. "And him?" "He's shielded. I hid his mind. But me and the baby, we are open now." Jacob thought quickly. "Then we need to hide you somewhere better." Valera's eyes moved to the floor beneath them. "Below. Basement?" She shook her head. "Deeper." Jacob frowned. He had a small cellar used for storing potatoes and grain. But that wouldn't stop a trained hunter. Valera stepped to the fireplace and placed her hand on the stone floor beside it. Her fingers glowed for a second. A round patch of stone slid back with a low grinding noise. A hidden hatch revealed. A narrow tunnel made of old metal and stone. Jacob's eyes widened. "What is that?" "Karun made it when we first landed. In case we needed to vanish. You built this under my cabin? We thought we might need a human's help. Karun chose your place." Jacob couldn't believe what he was hearing. But he didn't argue. Valera moved slowly to the hatch and started climbing down. Jacob helped her. The tunnel led to a deep chamber underground, lit by faint green crystals. Strange machines lined the walls. In the center was a large round pod, part bed, part shield. "This will protect the baby," Valera said, breathing hard. "But it cannot hide me." "Then I'll hide you," Jacob said. "Just stay down here. I'll take care of it." He climbed back up and closed the hatch behind him, covering it with a rug. Then he stepped outside again, this time with rope, an axe, and his old hunting gear. He had no alien weapons. No high-tech tools, but he had traps. He moved through the woods fast, setting snares, digging shallow pits, and stringing trip lines made of barbed wire he once used for cattle fences. He coated the ends with poison made from local plants. It wasn't much, but maybe it would slow them down. By the time the sun was high, the air felt wrong, heavy, as if someone was watching. Jacob froze near the edge of the clearing. He felt it, eyes on his back. Then he heard it. A low, sharp voice echoing through the trees. "You should not have helped her, human." Jacob turned slowly. Standing on a thick branch above him was a tall figure reptilian like Valera, but darker. His eyes burned red. He wore armor that shimmered like black glass. His wings were spread wide, and he held a long spear that crackled with energy. Valera's brother. "I don't take orders from aliens," Jacob said calmly. The warrior's eyes narrowed. "Then you will die like them." He raised his spear and leapt from the tree. Jacob ran. Jacob ran faster than he ever had in his life. Branches scratched his arms, roots grabbed at his feet, but he didn't stop. Behind him, the dragon warrior's heavy steps crashed through the forest closer. Louder, faster. He turned sharply through the trees, leading the enemy toward one of the traps he had set earlier. His boots skidded through mud as he passed a hidden tripwire. He ducked behind a thick oak tree and held his breath. The alien hunter charged straight into the trap. There was a sharp click, then a loud snap. The wire whipped up, wrapping around one of the warrior's legs. Spikes dug in. The alien roared in pain as a second trap sprung from the side, slamming into his side with sharpened wood. Jacob didn't wait. He ran again back toward the cabin. He needed time. He needed to lead them away from Valera and the baby. But as he neared the edge of the field, he stopped dead in his tracks. The sky was no longer blue. It was glowing orange, burning. Above the trees, a massive alien ship descended slowly, its shadow swallowing the forest. Black metal with red lights. Engines hummed like thunder. Flames shot from its sides, lighting parts of the woods on fire. Jacob stared in shock. They weren't sending a team. They were sending a warship. Inside the underground chamber, Valera clutched her belly as the ground trembled. She could feel the energy in the air, her people's ship. She closed her eyes and touched the glass pod where her baby now lay inside, sleeping, protected in a warm golden cocoon. "Don't wake, little one," she whispered. "Not yet." Suddenly, the hatch above shifted. Someone was coming. Her heart froze. Then a soft knock. "Valera," Jacob's voice called. "It's me." She opened the hatch from below. His face was covered in dirt and sweat. A small cut bled across his forehead. "They're here," he said. "We have to move." Valera looked at the baby. "I can't carry him and run. You won't have to." Jacob reached into the chamber and picked up the pod. It was surprisingly light, warm to the touch. The soft light inside pulsed with a slow, peaceful rhythm. He handed Valera a bag with food and water. "We'll head through the backwoods. There's a cave system a mile out. No ships can land there." She looked at him with tired eyes. "You risk your life for me and my child. Why?" Jacob didn't hesitate. "Because no one else would." They moved quickly through the trees. Smoke was rising behind them now. The ship had begun firing heat rays down into the forest. Trees exploded into flames. The sound was deafening. Valera winced with every step. She was still weak. Her claws dug into Jacob's shoulder for balance. "Just a little farther, Jacob," said Suddenly, the sound of wings. Jacob looked up. A figure dropped in front of them, another warrior, fully armored, with glowing red eyes. Not Valera's brother. Someone else, bigger, faster. The warrior raised a bladed weapon and aimed it toward the baby's pod. "No!" Valera screamed, shielding the pod with her body. The warrior hesitated, but only for a moment. Then he stepped forward, ignoring her cry. Before he could strike, a loud gunshot echoed. The warrior's head snapped back. He stumbled. Jacob had fired his rifle from just a few feet away, but the alien wasn't dead. Just angry. The warrior roared and charged. Jacob dropped the empty rifle and tackled the warrior head on, both of them rolling into the bushes in a blur of fists, claws, and rage. Valera stood shaking, torn between staying and running. Her legs were weak. But her eyes were sharp. She saw Jacob being pin-saw, the alien's claws moving toward his neck. She screamed something in her language. The baby's pod lit up, blinding gold light bursting from it like a star. The alien froze. For a moment, time stood still. Then the warrior let go of Jacob and fell backward. Lifeless. Jacob gasped, crawling away. The air felt charged, electric. Valera looked down at the pod. The baby's eyes were open now, glowing. Jacob stared at the infant through the clear shell. What did he do? Valera stepped forward slowly. He protected you. Jacob stood. We can't stay here, Valera nodded. My brother will come next. As the forest burned around them and the ship hovered above like a silent god, Jacob whispered, Then let's finish this. And they disappeared into the smoke. Jacob pushed aside thick vines as he led Valera into a hidden cave at the edge of the mountain. The fire from the forest was behind them now, far in the distance. Smoke still chased the sky above, but here inside the rock, everything was dark, cool, and quiet. Valera's legs shook with every step. Her claws dragged against the wall for balance. Her tail twitched in pain. The glowing pod in her arms pulsed softly, her unborn child safe, but barely. Her body was failing. Jacob lit a torch from the old supplies he had hidden here years ago. He had used this place once to hunt. Now it was all they had left. You need to lie down, Jacob said. You're not going to last much longer if you keep walking. I know, Valera whispered. It's time. The birth is starting. Jacob froze. Here? Now? She nodded and dropped to her knees with a cry. The pod in her arms suddenly dimmed, then flared brighter, as if sensing what was happening. Jacob rushed to her side, helping her onto a flat stone surface. He had never delivered a baby, especially not an alien one. His hands shook. What do I do? Valera gritted her teeth. The child is not like yours. It will emerge through energy. Painful, yes, but fast. Jacob didn't understand, but he didn't ask. He stayed by her side, wiping her forehead, watching the pod glow stronger. Valera screamed once, then arched her back. A blinding light exploded from her chest. Jacob stumbled backward, and then silence. He blinked through the fading glow. There, floating gently above the stone, was a small, soft-skinned child, not like a full dragon, not fully human either. The baby had Valera's silver skin, but soft human-like features. A thin, glowing tail wrapped around its legs. Its eyes were open, golden and wide, glowing like the sun. It didn't cry. It simply looked at them both and smiled. Jacob stared in awe. That's incredible. Valera reached up with shaking arms. Give him to me. Jacob carefully lifted the child and placed him in her arms. The baby curled against her chest and made a soft cooing sound. He's perfect, she whispered, tears in her eyes. He carries both our blood, both our worlds. But suddenly, the glow around the baby flickered. Valera gasped. Jacob stepped closer. What's wrong? The energy, she said weakly. Too much was used. The birth was too early. He's unstable. The baby's body shook slightly. His golden eyes fluttered. The warmth in the room began to fade. No, Valera cried. Stay with me. Jacob didn't think. He pulled off his jacket and wrapped the baby in it. What does he need? A bonding spark, she whispered. From someone who truly wants him to live. Jacob stared at her. What does that mean? Valera looked at him, eyes full of pain. He needs a living being to share part of their heart. Not blood and tension, soul. He's made from two sides. He needs a third to hold them together. Me? She nodded. If your heart accepts him, he will survive. Jacob hesitated only a second. Then he bent forward and pressed his forehead against the child's. The baby opened its eyes. A warm pulse passed between them like sunlight spreading through his chest. Jacob gasped as memories not his own flashed through his mind. Flying through stars, falling in love, betrayal, war, freedom. And then, the baby gave one soft cry, then fell asleep, glowing again, strong again. Valera closed her eyes and sighed. "You saved him." Jacob sat back, exhausted, breathless. "I think he saved me too." But the peace didn't last. Outside the cave, a sound echoed metal footsteps. Jacob stood quickly, pulling Valera behind a rock wall. He held his knife tightly. A shadow entered the cave mouth. Valera opened her eyes. "It's him," she whispered. "My brother." The tall dragon warrior stepped into the torchlight. His black armor was scorched, but his eyes burned with cold purpose. His gaze landed on the child in Valera's arms. "You gave birth," he said, "and you bonded him to a human. That is forbiddance." Jacob stepped between them. "You'll have to go through me." The brother's hand sparked with energy. "So be it." He raised his weapon, but the baby woke again. This time, its glow spread through the whole cave. The warrior froze. His weapon dimmed. His eyes blinked, confused. Then he fell to his knees. Jacob watched, stunned, as the mighty alien dropped his weapon. The baby looked at him and simply breathed. Valera said softly, "He does not destroy. He changes hearts." The warrior lowered his head. For the first time he whispered, "What have we done?" Asterisk smoke curled around the forest like a ghost. The once green trees were now black skeletons, broken and burned. Embers drifted through the air, glowing orange like falling stars. Somewhere in the distance, the great alien warship still hovered, watching, waiting. But inside the cave, something had changed. The warrior Valera's brother knelt in silence, head bowed, weapon forgotten. His chest rose and fell slowly, like he was waking from a long, terrible dream. Valera clutched her child to her chest, her arms shaking from exhaustion. The baby was asleep again, but warm and glowing with soft golden light. Jacob stood beside her, unsure what to do next. He was covered in dirt, sweat, and ash, but he was ready to fight if needed. Valera's voice broke the silence. "You feel him, don't you?" Her brother didn't look up. "He didn't attack you," she continued. "He showed you peace." "You bonded him to a human," the brother said quietly. "I had no choice," Valera said. "Karun is dying. You made sure of that. I needed someone who would care. Someone who would protect life, not power." The warrior finally raised his head and looked at Jacob. "You are not one of us." Jacob stared back. "You're right. But I care more about your sister and her baby than your whole army does." The warrior stood up slowly. "The ship above still follows my command. They will come. If they see that child, they will fire, no questions." "Then call them off," Jacob said. The warrior's eyes narrowed. "It's not that simple. There are others aboard who wish to rule. If I disobey, they will take my place, and they will destroy everything." Valera stepped forward, weak but firm. "Then help us disappear." Her brother turned to her. "You want me to betray the throne?" "I want you to save your blood," she said, holding out the baby. "This child is not a curse. He's the future, the bridge between two worlds." The warrior looked at the baby. The golden glow touched his face. "His name," Valera said softly, "is Solon. It means hope." The warrior closed his eyes for a long moment, then nodded once. "I can buy you time. Not much, maybe an hour." Jacob grabbed his gear. "That's all we need." The warrior stepped to the mouth of the cave and pressed something on a device. Hidden in his armor, a pulse shot into the air. Then he turned and walked into the smoke without another word. Jacob turned to Valera. "Can you move?" "I will move for my son." They wrapped Solon in blankets, hiding the glow. Jacob led them through the back trail, an old logging path now covered in ash and roots. The woods were still burning in places, but the fire had moved east. They stayed low, quiet, and fast, but the silence didn't last long. A sudden burst shook the sky above them. A flash of light. A blast of sound. The ship had fired. Jacob dropped to the ground, covering Valera and the baby with his body. The blast missed, but only just. Trees ahead burst into flame. "They know," Valera gasped. "They saw us." Jacob gritted his teeth. "No, they saw something. We're not done yet." He led them down a steep hill toward a dry riverbed. If they could reach the other side, there was an old bunker, an Earth military post abandoned decades ago. Maybe it would be enough to hide them. Behind them, the ship roared again. But just as it lined up to fire, another ship appeared in the sky. Smaller, sleek, and fast. It slammed into the side of the warship with a blinding flash, then pulled away, leaving smoke in its trail. Jacob looked up. "What the hell?" Valera gasped. "Karun." Jacob couldn't believe it. From the other side of the sky, Karun's escape ship had launched itself at the larger vessel. A last effort. A final attack. A distraction. "He's buying us time," Valera whispered, eyes wide with tears. "But he's still weak," Jacob said. Valera closed her eyes. "He knows he won't survive. This is his choice." Behind them, the sky lit up again. The large warship was now drifting, damaged. The path ahead was open for now. Jacob picked up the pace. "We're almost there." They reached the old bunker just as more ships entered the sky. But by then, they were hidden beneath layers of rock, steel, and silence. Inside the bunker, Jacob fell to the ground, exhausted. Valera sank beside him, holding Solon close. Outside, the war above raged on. But in that small space beneath the burning woods, a new family sat in the quiet. And for the first time in days, the child smiled. Again. The bunker was dark and cold. Cracked walls, rusted metal. Old Earth war maps still clung to the stone. But it was safe for now. Outside, fire still burned in the forest, and smoke climbed into the morning sky. The warship had gone quiet above them, damaged but not destroyed. Inside, Jacob sat near the door, holding a small scanner taken from Valera's brother before he left. It showed faint signals blinking across the screen. One by one, enemy ships were pulling back. Valera sat in the corner, her arms wrapped tightly around her baby. Solon was quiet, asleep in her lap, glowing gently. His breath was calm now. His body warm. Jacob looked at them both and exhaled. He saved us again. That's the third time. Valera didn't speak right away. Her eyes stared at the old floor as she rocked her child. Finally she said, "Karun's ship has gone silent." Jacob looked down. He already knew. "He gave us this chance," Valera whispered. "And now we have to decide what to do with it." Jacob walked over and crouched beside her. "Do we stay hidden or face them?" Valera looked at her child, then met Jacob's eyes. "If we keep running, they'll never stop. If we show them the truth, maybe they'll listen." "Maybe," Jacob said. "Or maybe they'll kill us the moment they find us." Valera gave a small smile. Peace was never easy. Suddenly, a soft beep came from the scanner. A message. Jacob pressed the side and a shaky, rough voice spoke in a low signal burst. "Human, Valera. This is Karun. If you hear this, I'm gone. But listen, the child must be seen. His light must be known. I left behind a key. In the fire, there is a gate. Trust her brother," he saw. The message cut off. Jacob stared at the scanner in silence. Valera's hands trembled. He planned everything. Jacob stood and checked the gear. "Then let's finish what he started." Valera's brother returned hours later. His armor was scorched, his wings injured. But his eyes no longer burned with rage. He walked into the Cone bunker and removed his helmet. No weapons. No anger. Only purpose. They want proof, he said. The council doesn't believe your child is stable. They say he's dangerous. Jacob stepped forward. Then let them see him. Valera stood, holding Solon. The baby opened his golden eyes and looked directly at the warrior. The brother nodded. I'll take you, but once you step into that chamber, everything changes. You may not return. Valera touched Jacob's hand. We're ready. They walked into the chamber of the Sky Throne. An alien ship now landed in a hidden valley, surrounded by guards. No one attacked, no one spoke. They were watched by 100 eyes. Glowing from behind curved helmets, at the center stood 5 High Council elders, tall and cold like statues carved from stone. Valera stepped forward and unwrapped the child. A hush fell. Solon looked at them. Just a baby, but something more. His glow filled the room, warm, alive, honest. Then he did something no one expected. He reached toward the elders and smiled. One of the elders stepped forward, slow and cautious. He touched the child's hand. The moment contact was made, a rush of golden light spread through the chamber. Visions, memories, feelings, not pain, not fear, but hope. And then, silence. The elder stepped back. This child is not a weapon, he said slowly. He is a bridge. Another elder growled. It does not change what has happened. The rules. There are no rules for what has never happened before. Valera's brother interrupted. The war ends here, or it never ends at all. The council was silent. Then the eldest among them nodded once. Let the child live, and let the humans know they have our respect. 3 weeks later, Jacob stood outside his cabin. The forest had begun to heal. New green had pushed through the ash. Birds had returned. So had peace. Valera stepped out onto the porch, rocking Solon gently in her arms. You sure? She asked. Jacob nodded. They offered Earth an alliance. So Solon would be the first to walk both skies, Valera smiled. And you, the human who opened his door. Jacob looked out at the quiet sky. Funny how a knock at midnight can change everything. She leaned against him. Their child laughed softly, and above them, for the first time, 2 suns rose together in peace.